Chapter 11. Ethereal Quality Transformation. Mengshan City, North District, in a courtyard enveloped by an array. A young man in his early 20s, dressed in a gray robe, stands in the backyard, motionless, as his hands wave around. Gray spirit light constantly bursts and shoots out from his dancing fingertips. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The speed of the spirit light is incredibly fast, like teleportation. Almost as soon as it emerges from the fingertips, new tender leaves on the jujube tree 3 meters away are directly shattered and annihilated in the spirit light. The young man is none other than Han Yi. At this moment, what he is practicing is the only magic skill, Spirit Void Finger. Spirit Void Finger is a simple magic skill, using a special method to compress spiritual power at the fingertips and then shoot it out, causing a certain amount of damage. Because the principle is simple, the lethality is very limited, and disciples at the middle stage of chi cultivating and above generally don't practice it. It is only the newcomers who have just joined the Xuandan sect that would think this magic skill is cool and want to learn it. At a certain moment, Han Yi, who is focused on practicing the Spirit Void Finger, suddenly realizes that his Spirit Void Finger has become smoother and the controllable range of compressed spiritual power is larger when he executes it. More importantly, the compression method has suddenly changed, and there is a noticeable difference compared to when he started practicing Spirit Void Finger. In short, the Spirit Void Finger has been upgraded. This spiritual power compression method is both familiar and unfamiliar. It is unfamiliar because it is already different in the method from when he started practicing the Spirit Void Finger. It feels familiar because there is no obstruction and it's as smooth as breathing when he uses it now. Whoosh, boom, the branch of the jujube tree is directly shattered by this spirit light, and some of the broken fragments are embedded deeply into the courtyard wall behind the tree because of the incredible speed, while the remaining fragments leave small bowl-sized pits on the wall. Han Yi is shocked and stops himself from trying again. Then, with a delighted expression, he looks at the panel. Just as expected, he has broken through. Spirit Void Finger peeking through the doorway 1/100th. Unlike alchemy skill, the progress of the Spirit Void Finger is faster, and after it advances, the power it displays is even greater. Moreover, after the advancement, even the method of spiritual power compression has changed, which means that this magic skill has undergone a complete transformation, and the Spirit Void Finger I'm using now should be version 2.0. This technique has great potential. Han Yi is internally reassured. The last time he practiced Spirit Void Finger, he spent only 2 days to push his initial proficiency from 29/100ths to 70/100ths. This time, he devoted his whole body and soul to it, and it took him only 1 day to directly push through to peeking through the doorway. His cultivation speed is much faster than when practicing alchemy skill. The breakthrough of Spirit Void Finger has given him some more confidence in his own safety. But it's not enough. Next, Han Yi continues to hone his Spirit Void Finger. He keeps waving his hand, casting Spirit Void Finger repeatedly. Previously, Han Yi experimented and found that the progress bar's advancement was related to the number of times he practiced Spirit Void Finger, and had nothing to do with the amount of compressed spiritual power during each practice. So he controls each compression of spiritual power to the minimum unit, allowing him to use his spiritual power as many times as possible. And he doesn't dare to target the jujube tree anymore. According to the power of his upgraded Spirit Void Finger, it wouldn't matter if the jujube tree was destroyed. However, the courtyard wall behind the tree is connected to the restriction array of the entire courtyard. If his Spirit Void Finger were to accidentally wear out the formation, he would have nowhere to cry. After all, the protection level of this courtyard is limited and cannot withstand prolonged wear and tear. He can only aim at the backyard ground, using the original stone bench to surround the stimulated area, acting as a barrier. 9/100ths, 14/100ths, 19/100ths, ... As he moves on, his progress each day is either equal to or lesser than the previous day's pace. However, Han Yi is very satisfied. This constantly rising sense of accomplishment made him feel that he was making effective progress. More than a month later, at some moment, boom, a finger flicked out, with only 1/50th of the full body mana contained at the fingertip. But this time, the way of compression was different. Han Yi had a new realization in the dark and followed this realization to construct this finger flick. The mana was compressed and operated in a different way, and it erupted from between his fingers. Even at the moment of flicking, Han Yi could feel a slight tingling in his finger and a barely detectable tremble in his whole body due to the counter shock. The next moment, he didn't have time to pay attention to the condition of his finger, but opened his mouth wide, his eyes bulging, staring straight ahead in shock. After the violent tremor in his pupils, he was overcome with ecstasy. In front of him, the spirit light that had been twisted into fine silk slanted to the ground. In the blink of an eye, boom, the spirit light hit the ground, causing the ground to tremble lightly and sending shattered stones flying, exploding the gathered stone bench and stone pieces into broken fragments. The flying stones collided with the walls of the courtyard, making a dense series of collision sounds. The noise was much louder than Han Yi had expected. With a wave of his sleeve, he pushed down all the dust that had been stirred up. Upon closer inspection, at the place where the spirit void finger had landed just now, there was now a pit about 1 meter wide. Without a doubt, if that finger had landed on a person's body, it would have caused them to burst apart in an instant. After breaking through, the power of the spirit void finger had increased dramatically. And also, keep in mind that the mana he had used to construct the spirit void finger just now was only 1/50th of his total mana. If he were to go all out in a battle, using half of his total mana to construct the spirit void finger, how exaggerated would the power within that single finger be? Just thinking about it made him shudder. Spirit void finger, enter the hall 1/100th. The proficiency panel was also showing the promotion of the spirit void finger. After the ecstasy, Han Yi wanted to continue practicing but discovered two problems. After breaking through to enter the hall, the progress of practicing the spirit void finger had become very slow. It had taken 2 whole days to advance from 1/100th to 2/100ths. Also, the courtyard where he was living could no longer provide the environment needed to practice the more powerful spirit void finger. In short, the progress of practice was difficult, and it was easy to blow up the courtyard. Furthermore, the spirit stones had been completely consumed. By this time, it had been more than 4 months since he had last left home. He even missed the quarterly assembly at the pill shop. After deep contemplation, Han Yi decided to go out. Without spirit stones, practicing the spirit void finger and recovering mana would be extremely time-consuming. Moreover, he was unlikely to advance the spirit void finger to the next stage of enter the hall in a short period of time. Before going out, Han Yi sorted out the exorcise evil spirits pills he needed to give Guan Sheng and the nurturing chi pills he planned to sell to the pill shop, and hid the extras in his storage bag. This time, he planned to first go to the market in Mengshan City and then trade pills at the pill shop. Going to the market was not only to sell pills but also to try to buy a more powerful magic skill. Having only the spirit void finger felt too monotonous. He should learn a few more skills, and keep one or even more as his trump cards. That way, he would feel more secure. After more than 4 months, Han Yi used the array disc again to activate the courtyard's array restriction, and instead of heading straight to the pill shop, he took the path to a cultivation market in Mengshan City. He had been hiding at home for 4 months. This had made Zhangde, who had been keeping watch outside the courtyard every now and then during the first 2 months, grow even darker in anger. Chapter 12. The Lei Family Market. Mengshan City was an ordinary city in Shu state of Dakian Immortal Country. As Han Yi walked through the streets, doubts arose in his heart. For someone who had traversed to this world, the more he understood the system of Dakian Immortal Country, the more puzzled he became. For example, the coexistence of immortals and mortals. Cultivators and ordinary people live together, with laws specifically targeting cultivators and laws for ordinary people. Moreover, although immortals and mortals coexisted, the slaughter of mortals by immortals was strictly forbidden. Even in public, killing a mortal would result in severe official scrutiny. This was inconsistent with Han Yi's imagination of cultivators being aloof and regarding mortals as ants. So, he was quite puzzled. But, puzzled or not, since the rules were like this, he would follow them. Furthermore, this kind of environment provided protection for low-level cultivators like him. Similar to worldly trades, several major forces in Mengshan City set up cultivation marketplaces for the convenience of communication among cultivators. The Lei family's marketplace was one of them, and that was the information Han Yi had learned about Mengshan City when he first came down the mountain. More than 4 months later, upon leaving his residence, the first stop for Han Yi was this place. There were 2 chi cultivation stage cultivators from the Lei family guarding the entrance to the marketplace. To enter, one did not need to pay any spirit stones or spirit sand but was required to input their magic power into a stone tablet to verify their identity as a cultivator. After verifying his identity as a cultivator, Han Yi cupped his fists and asked one of the guards. Fellow Taoist, this is my first time here. Can you tell me how much it costs to rent a stall in the marketplace? The one who was asked was a mature-looking young guard. He glanced at Han Yi without any extra expression on his face. Stalls are divided into fixed stalls and temporary stalls. Fixed stalls are priced based on size and location, with the leasing fees starting from a minimum of 3 spirit stones per day. The largest fixed stall can cost dozens of spirit stones. As for temporary stalls, the stall width is only 2 meters, and each costs 1 spirit stone per day. All locations are the same, on a first-come, first-served basis. If you want to rent a stall, you can go to the market management center ahead. Han Yi understood upon hearing the guard's words. Fellow Taoist, I have another question. Besides renting a stall, what other channels are there? For selling pills. Also, where can I buy spiritual medicines and spiritual herbs? When Han Yi asked this, the mature young guard looked at him more closely. After all, Han Yi's words were equivalent to hanging a "I am an alchemist" sign on his face. An alchemist like him was very likely a fat sheep that had just stepped out of a sect. Who wouldn't like such a fat sheep? Therefore, the guard's face showed a rare hint of a smile. Fellow Taoist, you've indeed asked the right person. Since you've come here, you must know that this place is called the Lei family's marketplace. In that case, the best place to trade in pills, formations, talismans, weapons, spiritual medicines, and spiritual herbs, of course, are the official shops set up by the Lei family. Just follow the marketplace until you reach the middle. There, you'll find the largest shop where you can buy anything you want or have someone help you appraise and recycle the items you want to sell. Han Yi nodded after listening. It was natural for the marketplace guards, who were presumably members of the Lei family, to speak on behalf of Lei family shops. By the way, fellow Taoist, I have one last question. If I want to buy magic skills, can I purchase them from the largest shop? When Han Yi asked again, the arrogant young guard nodded his head proudly. Of course, our Lei family ranks within the top 3 cultivation families in Mengshan City. Our family head is a cultivator at the foundation establishment stage, so we naturally have magic skills for sale. However, each magic skill is not cheap. The weakest ones require dozens of spirit stones, while slightly stronger ones cost hundreds or even require middle-grade spirit stones to trade. It's not something that an ordinary low-level chi cultivator can afford. The meaning in the guard's glance at Han Yi was obvious. He clearly didn't believe that a young cultivator who had just stepped out of the sect and had Chi cultivation stage 3's magic power fluctuations, indicating that he had just broken through, would have such financial power. However, Han Yi's face lit up with joy. After thanking the guard, he hurriedly walked inside the marketplace. As for him, as long as there were magic skills to buy, all he needed to do next was refine pills and trade time for spirit stones. Alchemists, especially high-level ones, were in high demand. It's because they could easily accumulate astonishing wealth by refining pills. Han Yi walked around the marketplace but did not immediately head to the central largest shop as directed by the young guard earlier. Instead, he first took a stroll through 2 marketplace streets, randomly checking out fixed and temporary stalls. Fixed stalls were covered, and the items on display were all of higher quality, including pills, talismans, and weapons. Temporary stalls, on the other hand, were relatively simple, with some being even quite crude. They were set up using a piece of white cloth, and the items for sale were placed on the cloth. However, whether they were temporary stalls or fixed stalls, none of them had the hustle and bustle of hawking goods like in the secular world. There were quite a few cultivators in the marketplace, but they mostly traded quietly, completed their transactions, and left directly without any delay. Although Han Yi was curious, he didn't stay long. After getting a general understanding of the stalls, he headed straight for the Lei family's official shop. Renting a stall was his plan for next time. This time, he wanted to quickly complete his trades and shorten the time spent to reduce risks. At the center of the marketplace stood a huge shop with an enormous area. In front of the shop, a plaque with 4 characters exuded a mysterious immortal path. Aura, Lei family's trading firm. The person who wrote those 4 characters had a deeply founded Tao foundation. After Han Yi caught a glimpse of it, he noticed something unusual and dared not to linger as he entered the shop. Shopkeeper, I want to sell some pills and buy a suitable magic skill. Han Yi went straight to the point and told the shopkeeper who was attending to him. The shopkeeper appeared to be over 70 years old, but his eyes were bright and shining. Hearing Han Yi's words, the elderly shopkeeper's eyes flashed with shrewdness, and he quickly led Han Yi to the back of the shop. Oh, fellow Taoist, please follow me. At the back of the shop, there were individual guest rooms. Inside the rooms, a faint scent of sandalwood permeated, and immortal chi lingered. Just a whiff invigorated one's spirit. Once both parties were seated, Han Yi wasted no time and presented the extra exorcise evil spirits pills and nurturing chi pills. 2 bottles of exorcise evil spirits pills and 4 bottles of nurturing chi pills. The elderly shopkeeper first opened the bottle cap of the nurturing chi pills, sniffed it, half squinted his eyes, and said nothing. He then opened the exorcise evil spirits pills bottle cap, sniffed again, and barely perceptibly nodded. The quality of the nurturing chi pills is average, while the exorcise evil spirits pills are of average quality leaning towards the higher side, just a tiny bit away from the standard. There are a total of 43 nurturing chi pills, estimated to be worth 55 lower grade spirit stones. There are 8 exorcise evil spirits pills, estimated to be worth 30 lower grade spirit stones. Fellow Taoist, what do you think? Upon hearing the elderly shopkeeper's words, Han Yi frowned deeply. Chapter 13, The Art of Sword Control. Because this valuation was a bit too low. According to what he had previously learned, the market price for a single nurturing chi pill was about 1.5 spirit stones, while 1 exorcise evil spirits pill was about 5 spirit stones. In other words, based on market prices, he could sell his nurturing chi pills for 65 stones and his exorcise evil spirits pills for 40. And now, the Lei family's trading firm's offer for these 6 bottles of pills was a full 20 spirit stones lower than the market price. Although he had expected the Lei family's valuation to be low, he did not expect it to be this low. There was one word to describe it: exploitative. Han Yi did not immediately accept the offer but instead pondered for a moment and asked, I've heard that the Lei family's trading firm sells low-level magic skills. I'd like to purchase 1 skill. Shopkeeper, do you have any recommendations? As soon as Han Yi finished speaking, a smile appeared on the corner of the shopkeeper's mouth. Fellow Taoist, you've come to the right place. We have a wide range of magic skills for sale in our shop, including defensive skills, magical attack skills, and artifact controlling skills. Which category of skill are you looking for? Also, do you have a price range? If so, I can help narrow down the options for you. At this moment, the elderly shopkeeper's words reminded Han Yi of a house-selling agent from his previous life. Their way of talking had some similarities. Shopkeeper, do you have any skills that I can afford with the valuation of these pills? Han Yi asked tentatively. Upon hearing this, the shopkeeper's smile grew even wider. Of course. However, those skills are just ordinary and low-level, with weak power. Some of them can even be considered chicken ribs, quite useless. I sincerely suggest you choose a better magic skill. Let me introduce you to the 3 top-selling skills of this quarter. 1 is Tiangong Divine Fire. With the Divine Fire emerging, it can burn everything to ashes, even those at the high chi cultivation realm cannot escape. This is a powerful weapon. 1 is Shadow Realm Infiltration. When cultivated to the extreme, it is rumored that not even those in the foundation establishment stage can catch your trace. It is an excellent skill for self-preservation. 1 is Speech Spirit Skill. Every immortal speech can break the rules and temporarily rewrite them, truly mysterious. The shopkeeper's words came out smoothly without hesitation. Obviously, he had said this to countless people before. Han Yi's eyes widened. Desire welled up in his heart. Tiangong Divine Fire, Shadow Realm Infiltration, and Speech Spirit Skill, these 3 skills sounded extremely impressive, let alone the detailed explanation of how powerful they were from the elderly shopkeeper. This made Han Yi itch to acquire them. However, he quickly calmed down. These magic skills were absolutely not cheap, definitely more than 100 stones, and perhaps even as high as several hundred spirit stones. If he took a risk and sold all the other pills in his storage bag, it might be enough to buy 1 skill. But he did not dare gamble. This was completely different from his original plan, and he would not be able to explain it to the Zon Fire Pill store later. Seeing Han Yi's thoughtful expression after being so tempted, the elderly shopkeeper thought to himself, as I expected. An alchemist, especially one who could refine exorcise evil spirits pills of nearly top quality, must be wealthy. Surely he had more than just these pills on him. What the shopkeeper wanted was for Han Yi to sell more pills or make up the difference in spirit stones to afford these 3 skills. The final goal, of course, was to make a small profit. Selling 1 skill was selling 2 was also selling. This was a profitable business without any capital investment. The elderly shopkeeper was about to encourage Han Yi with more words but saw Han Yi spread his hands. Shopkeeper, it's not that I don't want to buy them, it's that I can't afford them. These 6 bottles are all the pills I have on me. Just give me a straight answer. If I sell these 6 bottles and get 85 spirit stones, which skills can I buy here? Han Yi's sudden change left the shopkeeper with no choice but to swallow the words he had prepared. But business is business, and the elderly shopkeeper was half a pure businessman. Moreover, a transaction of 85 spirit stones was not a small amount. In that case, it is indeed a pity. However, I do have a few magic skills within the price range of fellow Taoist. The old shopkeeper took out 7 scripture transmission jade plates from a cabinet nearby. These jade plates were purely for transmitting magic skills, and only by placing them on the forehead could one receive the teachings. Mysterious lights circulated on the 7 jade plates. The old shopkeeper placed one of them in his palm. This is a light body technique, of course, it's the lowest level light body technique. The original price is 30 spirit stones, but if you're really interested in buying it, I'd be bold enough to offer you a discount and sell it for 28. The old shopkeeper put down the jade plate and picked up the next one. This is a water control skill, also the lowest level, originally priced at 40 spirit stones, but I can offer a discount of 2. Next, he took out the 3rd jade plate. Light body technique, water control skill, scolding skill, bright eyes skill, invisibility skill, wind blade skill, sword control skill. There were a total of 7 magic skills, and Han Yi was itching to buy each one. However, he was well aware of the principle of not trying to grab too much at once. The most important thing was that he didn't have that many spirit stones. Shopkeeper, is the 7th skill a sword control skill? Han Yi asked again for confirmation. In his impression, the sword control skill was a top-notch skill and not cheap. The old shopkeeper nodded and held up the 7th jade plate. That's right, this is a sword control skill. Of course, the reason for such a preferential price is mainly because this sword control skill is incomplete. To be precise, it is a skill that lies between the mortal sword skill and the immortal sword skill. Let me say in advance, this sword control skill has obvious pros and cons. A real sword control skill requires at least a high chi cultivation base and years of nurturing flying swords in order to control them. However, this sword control skill, modified from the mortal sword skill, can be practiced as soon as one enters the chi cultivation stage. The low threshold is an advantage. Compared to the advantages, the drawbacks are also obvious. The power of this sword control skill is far inferior to that of the immortal sword skill. Another drawback is that it is more challenging to practice, and one might never be able to control the sword in flight throughout their life, only holding the flying sword for close combat. Therefore, this modified sword control skill is so cheap, requiring only 85 spirit stones. Fellow Taoist, it's up to you to choose. After saying this, the old shopkeeper didn't bother to say more. Apparently, his patience had reached its limit. Across from him, Han Yi was indecisive. Of these 7 magic skills, he had initially ruled out the water control skill and the bright eyes skill due to their limitations, but he hadn't decided which of the remaining 5 to buy. This was a difficult decision. Seeing Han Yi's indecision, the old shopkeeper gave him a glance. Situations like this were not uncommon in the past. What's so difficult to choose? For magic skills, just buy the most expensive ones. The most expensive ones are not necessarily the best, but they are definitely better than the cheaper ones, otherwise, why would they be priced higher than the others? These words awakened Han Yi. Just like when he went shopping in his previous life, it made sense that expensive goods would likely be better quality than the cheap ones, judging by the probabilities. All right, shopkeeper, I'll take the sword control skill. Han Yi made up his mind. As for the other magic skills, it wouldn't be too late to buy them next time. The old shopkeeper's face softened slightly upon hearing his words. An 85 spirit stone transaction, while not big, was still a small profit for him. A moment later, when Han Yi left the Lei family's trading firm, there was an additional scripture transmission jade plate containing the sword control skill in his storage bag. He no longer approached other stalls but swiftly left the market and headed straight for the Zanhuo pill shop. Chapter 14, Guan Sheng's Request. What Han Yi did not know was, after he left the market, a figure had been following him secretly, waited until he entered the mysterious fire alchemy store, and then returned to the market after waiting for a moment. As I guessed, this kid should be the alchemist from the mysterious fire alchemy store. But it's a bit strange, how can an alchemist who can refine the exorcise evil spirits pills close to standard quality appear in the mysterious fire alchemy store? From the information I have, An alchemist with such alchemy skills who's also so young would usually reside within the Xuanden sect and rarely descend the mountain. The elderly shopkeeper who had just completed the transaction with Han Yi a quarter of an hour ago sat in the tranquil room filled with sandalwood, feeling quite puzzled. Forget it, you can go. Since this kid is with the mysterious fire alchemy store, don't act recklessly. With a wave of his hand, a figure dressed in a black cloak and standing in front of him, so quiet and breathless as if it didn't exist, bowed slightly and then vanished from the room in a flash, leaving no trace. The most likely possibility is that he's a disciple who came down the mountain to gain experience. The Xuanden sect is not to be trifled with. Let it be. The elderly shopkeeper stood up and abandoned some of his thoughts about Han Yi. If Han Yi were a loose cultivator, there would be many ways for the shopkeeper to make use of him, or at least secretly take all his pills and treasures for himself. However, it's a pity that Han Yi had a bigger backer, so the Lei family didn't dare to act recklessly. Han Yi didn't know that he had inadvertently avoided the Lei family's side business. When he stepped into the mysterious fire alchemy store, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. On the way, the killing intent that had appeared more than 4 months ago did not show up. At the counter, Guan Sheng saw Han Yi appear and his eyes flashed with an indescribable expression. Congratulations, junior brother Han Yi, on breaking through to the 3rd layer of the Qi cultivation stage. Such a joyous occasion. Guan Sheng immediately detected the fluctuations of the unstable 3rd layer of Qi cultivation on Han Yi's body. Han Yi humbly expressed his thanks and then got to the point. I apologize, elder brother Guan. According to our agreement, I should have reported here earlier, but I was suddenly inspired to break through my realm, which delayed your business. It's my fault. Since Han Yi was being humble, Guan Sheng didn't pursue the matter further. Next, Han Yi took out the pills and exorcise evil spirits pills for the transaction. As before, he sold the nurturing Qi pills for spirit stones, and the exorcise evil spirits pills according to the 20/80th split, which also yielded about 10 spirit stones. This time, Han Yi received a total of 167 spirit stones. He only used 50 spirit stones to buy materials for nurturing Qi pills because the mysterious fire alchemy store only had this much available, not because he didn't want to buy more. As for other pills, he didn't want to deal with them for the time being. It's better to focus on one aspect for optimal results. Junior brother Han Yi, your alchemy skill is becoming more and more refined, and your success rate is maintained at a certain level. With your current level, you'll definitely pass the sect assessment in half a year. I, as your elder brother, would like to congratulate you in advance. Guan Sheng said with a smile while Han Yi thanked him with a bow. Then, Guan Sheng gave Han Yi the materials for 20 exorcise evil spirits pills as usual. This time, Guan Sheng didn't stop there but hesitated and said, Junior brother Han Yi, to be honest, I need your help with something. Oh, what's the matter? Please give me your instructions, elder brother Guan. Han Yi asked, puzzled. What could it be that Guan Sheng couldn't handle, and how could he help? If he really could help, of course, he wouldn't refuse this favor considering how Guan Sheng had been taking care of him. Seeing Han Yi not refusing, Guan Sheng's face brightened, and he continued, this thing doesn't need to be done now. According to the usual practice, in 3 months, someone from the sect's internal affairs will come to inspect the store. At that time, I happen to have an important matter and need to go out for a while. I don't trust other people. At that time, I hope you can help me and stay in the store for half a month. Junior brother, don't worry. By then, I'll arrange everything properly to ensure a smooth transition for you. Besides, I'll provide spirit stone compensation for the half-month delay, so you won't be helping in vain. Upon hearing this, Han Yi laughed bitterly. Elder brother Guan, the mysterious fire alchemy store is so big, with so many pill businesses involved. The responsibility is too great. I'm afraid I won't be able to handle it at that time. Moreover, with sect matters coming up, I don't know how to properly receive them. Han Yi spread his hands. To be honest, he just wanted to lay low, practice diligently, and enjoy the feeling of getting stronger every day. He had even thought about doing this after returning to the Xuanden sect in the future. As for being in charge of the pill shop, he hadn't considered it at all. Guan Sheng sighed softly and said helplessly, it's precisely because the responsibility is so great that I can't trust anyone else. This year's sect inspection is crucial to my assessment, and there can't be the slightest mistake. And it just so happens that I have something very important to take care of and can't stay. So, I considered asking junior brother Han for help. Through our interactions, I've found junior brother Han to be steady and reliable. I trust you in my own judgment. Otherwise, I wouldn't make such a request rashly. As for receiving the sect's administration, it's not a problem. There's an established process, and I'll prepare accordingly, so you don't have to worry too much. Upon hearing this, Han Yi thought for a moment before nodding. All right then, since senior brother Guan values me so highly, it would be disrespectful for me to refuse any further. Han Yi finally agreed, and Guan Sheng's face lit up with joy. Great, with junior brother Han's help, the inspection this time will be flawless. Next, Han Yi asked more questions regarding the details of this matter, and Guan Sheng explained each point. Half an hour later, Han Yi left the Xuanwo pill shop. Inside the shop, the smile on Guan Sheng's face remained. The final piece of the puzzle is in place, my long-planned scheme is not in vain. With the chick in the cage, great things can be expected. Guan Sheng's smile suddenly disappeared, as a tall and thin young man came down from the second floor. The thin young man was Zhongde. Zhongde shifted his gaze from Han Yi's retreating figure to Guan Sheng's face and spoke in a deep voice. Elder Guan, do you plan to have the boy take the fall during the sect's inspection? Such a plan is full of holes, and if something happens, we'll all die. My advice remains the same. Get rid of him as soon as possible and forge evidence. Besides, the kid just broke through to the third realm of qi cultivation, providing a perfect excuse for accusing him of embezzlement. Zhongde wanted to continue persuading but was interrupted by Guan Sheng. Zhongde, my plan does not require your intervention. I warn you, don't cause trouble during this time, or you'll regret it. Guan Sheng's expression was unusually gloomy. Zhongde stared at him for a moment, stopped talking, turned around, and went back up to the second floor. A moment later, he came back down and walked outside the shop. Where are you going? Guan Sheng asked without looking up. Collecting goods. Zhongde waved the bill in his hand, expressionless, as he left the pill shop. Guan Sheng lowered his head and ignored him. Today was the day to collect spiritual medicine and herbs. On the other hand, after leaving the Xuanwo pill shop, Han Yi didn't think much about it. He took it as a regular request from senior brother Guan. Since he had no ulterior motives, he could explain it if there were any issues. He decided to accept it as owing someone a favor. Chapter 15, Bombing. Indiscriminately. After leaving the pill shop, Han Yi went straight to his residence. For him, Mengshan City's safest places were the pill shop and his own courtyard. Today's outing reaped full rewards. Not only did he buy a flawed version of a sword control magic skill, but he also traded pills, bought materials, and for the first time had over 100 spirit stones in cash. A huge fortune. At Little Lingshu Peak, probably only those high-ranking outer sect disciples in the high qi cultivation stages of the 5th or 6th layers could be so ostentatious. As the saying goes, having money gives one confidence. No matter which world it is, this statement always holds true. In Han Yi's mind, he now had a plan to no longer restrain himself and extravagantly use spirit stones when pushing his cultivation progress forward. If his aptitude wasn't enough, then he would use spirit stones to make up for it. The third layer of qi cultivation was only a step off, and reaching the middle stage of qi cultivating, the late stage of qi cultivation, or even, the Immortal Path foundation building, would all simply be a matter of time. Just as Han Yi was thinking this, he had already walked more than halfway and was passing through a small alley. After 2 more streets, he would reach his courtyard. This small alley was relatively the most remote place between the pill shop and his residence. As usual, while passing through this alley, he would remain especially vigilant. As he came close to the end, he heard muffled footsteps from behind. The footsteps grew closer within a short span of time, covering several tens of meters and closing the gap between them to just 3 meters within about 3 seconds. Han Yi's eyebrows furrowed, he slowed down a bit and moved towards the wall. Since the person was in such a hurry, it would be better to let them pass first. In doing so, he could reduce the potential danger. It was his natural instinct. The alley wasn't too narrow, measuring 3 meters in width, and it wouldn't take the other party more than a brief moment to pass by, causing hardly any delay. As Han Yi moved aside, before he could get a good look at the person, he smelled a pungent odor. This is the smell of pills. Was that person an alchemist? Only someone who practiced the alchemy skill and was continually refining pills would possess such an extraordinary smell. But, why did this smell feel familiar? Had he smelled this before? This thought surfaced in his inner heart. At this very moment, the person was close enough to him, just about 2 meters away, and was about to pass through the alley. Han Yi's inner heart still had a lingering thought about the pungent odor, and as he puzzled over this, he remained doubtful. Within an instant, the scene changed in his mind, and he remembered when he had first entered the pill shop. It was a faint smell he had noticed at that time. The owner of the smell was. Suddenly, he raised his head abruptly. Zhangde. The person brushing past him was Zhangde. Before he could think any further, he keenly sensed a slight fluctuation in magical power. This slight fluctuation erupted from the figure standing 2 meters away, parallel to his position. At the same time, a killing intent, completely unmasked, surged violently. In a flash, Han Yi's hair stood on end, and he felt his scalp tingling with goosebumps. The breath of death felt so eerily close. In the blink of an eye, his thoughts failed to keep pace, but his body instinctively reacted. Pooh! He fiercely swung his right hand, releasing a deeply compressed spirit light as he flicked his bent fingers. Because the reaction was instinctive, the amount of magical power compressed in this spirit void finger technique was still 1/50th of his total. Magical power. The spirit light exploded between the two of them, and within the exploding mass of spirit energy, there were leaping flames. Intensely hot aura assaulted him. The other party's magic skill had a fire element. Han Yi dared not imagine what would happen if he had been hit by this fire elemental magic skill, whether he'd be burnt to ashes. But he could roughly predict that he might meet his end here today. This thought, just a fleeting one. As the thought was not extinguished, anger surged wildly. The first thing to explode was still his instinct. After a spirit void finger burst and blocked the opponent's magic skill, the opponent also clearly did not expect such an accident. They thought they could kill Han Yi in one move, but their next magic skill was not ready. Under the threat of death, instinct wouldn't stop. Almost immediately after his right hand's spirit void finger, his left hand also threw one out. In a very short period that was almost impossible to capture, the second spirit void finger had already passed through the chaotic spirit energy group of leaping flames and heavily slammed onto the opponent's arm. Boom! The opponent's arm blasted apart at the shoulder. A mist of blood burst open. A short scream rang out with it. It wasn't over. Puff, puff, puff. The crisis of death and the anger caused instincts to explode first, followed by rationality taking control of the body. No matter which one, within the 2 breaths, or 6 seconds. Han Yi's whole body's magic power was poured out in an instant. A full 50 spirit void fingers, like dazzling fireworks, exploded one after another in the small alley. Bombs went haywire. Things were going slow, but happening fast. The footsteps sounded behind him, and as Han Yi turned his body, the opponent's body had a magic power fluctuation. In the critical moment, instinctively flicked his finger, and then his body's magic power was completely poured out. It was just a few breaths worth of time. Only then did other people in the small alley react. Spirit energy was still tumbling, and screams rang out around it. Han Yi didn't have time to think much. He needed to quickly rush through the entrance of the alley and flee. Suddenly, he kicked something under his feet. Looking down, he grabbed it with one hand and, without stopping, turned the corner and disappeared in an instant. 1/4 of an hour later, Mengshan City's official cultivators arrived tardily. What they saw was a body that had been blasted into pieces. Calling it a body wasn't exactly right, it was more like a mass of rotten flesh. A high Qi cultivation cultivator frowned. The residual aura here is roughly at the level of Qi cultivating 4th layer, and it doesn't exceed spirit energy 5th layer. Moreover, there's only this mass of rotten flesh left, and there's no identity marker on it. What to investigate? Cultivators fighting, isn't this a daily occurrence? Besides, it didn't hurt any mortals. And, the opponent's storage bag isn't at the scene. It must have been stolen. No need to investigate, classify it as a robbing cultivator case. The high Qi cultivation cultivator waved his hand, determined the nature of the battle, and left by himself. Half an hour later, some low-level cultivators came to clean up the scene. 2 hours later, there were no other traces left at the scene besides the smell of blood. And rewinding time, as Han Yi turned the corner of the small alley, his body couldn't help but tremble. However, with great perseverance, he controlled his steps, prevented himself from running too fast, and quickly blended into the crowd. When he finally got to the courtyard door, he squeezed out the last bit of his magic power, transferred it into the array disc, opened the courtyard door, and locked it behind him. He couldn't hold on any longer. The whole person leaned against the courtyard door and collapsed on the ground. Fear, anger, panic, disgust. Various emotions surged one after another. At this moment, his forcibly suppressed heartbeat suddenly jumped wildly, as if the entire heart would leap out of his throat alive. Zhangde wanted to kill me. I killed him. Chapter 16. Re-examining. Gradually calming down, Han Yi's biggest concern was whether the official cultivators would come knocking on his door, following his tracks. Murder was always hard to explain. But he waited till late at night, and still saw no sign of movement, so he gradually settled down. In fact, after Han Yi's crossing, his understanding of this world remained superficial. Subconsciously, he was still the engineer and technical geek from his previous life, living under the rule of law. In his previous life, murder was illegal. In Dakion, as long as you act quickly and don't violate the Dakion law, killing a cultivator comes with no consequences. After speculating that the authorities wouldn't come to the sect's door, Han Yi began reviewing everything that happened today. The appearance was that Zhangde wanted to kill him. He definitely didn't mistake the first burst of magical energy and murderous intent. What was the reason? Why? The two had little contact, having only met 2 or 3 times, merely nodding acquaintances without even exchanging words. What kind of grudge could they have? Han Yi racked his brains but couldn't figure it out. As for the outcome of the skirmish, Han Yi killed Zhangde in self-defense. There was no doubt about it. Even in his previous life under the rule of law, if someone tried to kill him, he would fight back in self-defense. Han Yi didn't regret killing. Moreover, the encounter in the alley was too short. After he killed Zhangde, he merely saw the body gradually explode and shatter, obscured by the chaotic cluster of spiritual energy. This was also the main reason why he felt sick after returning to the courtyard. It's too dangerous. Last time I went out, I encountered a murder attempt out of nowhere. This time, it's Zhangde trying to ambush me. No, maybe the murder attempt last time came from Zhangde, but I was lucky to escape by blending into the crowd and creating confusion. Han Yi's thoughts raced in his mind, and he vaguely sensed a conspiracy against him. Something was off. Very off. Since coming to Mengshan City, the people I've met only include a few. Guan Sheng, Zhangde, Xiao Yi, Sha Qingyi, and the shopkeeper in the Lei family market. Zhangde's murder attempt should have nothing to do with the Lei family market. Among them, Zhangde is already dead, and the only person I can trust is Guan Sheng. When Han Yi reached this point, he suddenly paused, his brows furrowed, and then shook his head. No, I'm stuck in my preconceived notions. Theoretically, the only person I can trust in Mengshan City is myself. Based on this foundation, I should be screening everyone. No one else can be trusted. Han Yi's heart sank slightly. He didn't know what kind of conspiracy awaited him. However, as long as he stayed still and endured, every trick would be exposed. Endure. Endure for half a year, endure until the sex assessment when he could leave Mengshan City and return to Little Lingshu Peak, and he would be safe. Thinking of this, Han Yi let out a sigh of relief. It seems like I can only apologize to Guan Sheng. From now on, I'll endure until half a year later. As for the exorcise evil spirits pill, I'll refine it after joining the sect. Pass it on to Guan Sheng through brother Guan Di. As for the profits, I don't want them. Consider it compensation for Guan Sheng. I believe Guan Sheng will understand. At most, I'll compensate him with more pills when I'm stronger in the future. Han Yi made up his mind to endure from this moment on. Afterward, he took out the blood-stained storage bag that he had accidentally kicked just before leaving the alley. He tried infusing it with his magical power. As expected, he met some resistance, but it wasn't strong. This indicated that the storage bag's owner, Zhangde, was indeed of a higher realm than himself, but only slightly so. Based on his review of the skirmish in the alley, Zhangde should have been at the 4th level of Qi cultivation. However, Zhangde was too careless, attempting a sneak attack, and encountered Han Yi, who had cultivated the Spirit Void Finger, to enter the Hall realm. Being counter-killed was just a matter of time and fate. Han Yi continued to input his mana, taking a full hour before he could open Zhangde's storage bag. After seeing the contents of the storage bag, Han Yi's eyes lit up. He collected all of his belongings in the quiet room first, and with a wave of his hand, he poured out the items from Zhangde's storage bag. The quiet room was filled to the brim. Familiar and unfamiliar smells of spiritual medicines and herbs rushed into his nostrils. Herbs for alchemy. Although these herbs were in their initial state and needed to be sorted and stored in jade boxes, there were so many of them that they constituted a huge fortune for him. Converted into spirit stones, they were worth far more than 100 stones. He had struck it rich. Han Yi had this thought flash through his mind. Then, a few words appeared. No wonder there's an old saying, killing and arson bring riches, bridge building and road repair bring no corpses, man won't be rich without windfall, horse won't be fat without night grass. Day and night, Han Yi had no intention of sleeping. By the time the sun rose on the second day, he had finished sorting all the spiritual medicines and herbs. Next, he looked at the items he had sorted out besides the herbs. There were not many spirit stones, only 78. Spirit sand, about 30 pounds. Spirit coal, around 300 pounds. An 8-sided silver alchemy furnace. A pile of jade bottles, some contained pills he recognized, while others contained pills he had never seen before. Exorcise evil spirits pills, grain-avoiding pills, nurturing chi pills, focus pills, breaking stage pills, containing god pills. Beside all this, Han Yi looked at the last items. They were 3 ancient bronze-colored daggers. The daggers had no handle and were only as long as a palm. Staring at the daggers, Han Yi's heart was first filled with solemnity, followed by lingering fear. This was a set of magical artifacts. If, just if, in that narrow alley, Zhangde hadn't used a sneak attack with his magic skill, but had instead used the magical artifacts to attack from dozens of meters away, the result might have been completely different. So, when he saw this set of magical artifacts clearly, the lingering fear surged in Han Yi's heart. Going all out in an encounter on a narrow road is essential. One must never have any luck, or else one will die. Han Yi had a profound understanding of going all out. He collected the spirit stones, spirit sand, pills, spirit coal, and other miscellaneous items into his storage bag and put the alchemy furnace and other items into Zhangde's storage bag. Then, he turned his gaze back to the magical dagger artifacts and tried to use his mana to drive them, but unfortunately, his cultivation base at the 3rd layer of chi cultivation was only enough to drive the daggers to shuttle within 3 meters of his body. Furthermore, he could only control 2 daggers at most. Han Yi also noticed that these 3 daggers were obviously a set, and only by controlling all 3 simultaneously could their power be maximized. Although this set of magical artifacts was of lower quality, it was an excellent magical artifact for both offense and defense. After half a day of control, Han Yi suddenly thought of something. He took out a scripture transmission jade plate from his storage bag, which he had purchased from the Lei family market for 85 spirit stones. His eyes brightened, and a thought suddenly struck him. Could he use the sword control skill to control these 3 daggers and turn them into flying swords? Once this idea arose, Han Yi felt it was feasible. But he didn't try it out just yet. Practicing sword control skill would definitely require a long time. And the alley fight had shown him the terrifying power of the spirit void finger. He wanted to have multiple skills, but also to specialize in one. Under the current circumstances, specializing in one skill first and then acquiring multiple skills to increase his trump cards was the ideal approach. So, he decided to continue his arduous cultivation. Once he reached the next realm of the spirit void finger, he would practice the sword control skill. As for the loud noise caused by practicing the spirit void finger in the courtyard, he had thought of a solution: to practice the spirit void finger in his bedroom and direct the attack downwards. At most, it would just blow out a basement. At most, when he returned to the sect later, he would have to pay for the damages. Chapter 17. Completely Cunning. The hundreds of spirit stones traded from the Xuanden sect's pill shop, along with the spirit stones and spirit sand scavenged from Zhangde's storage bag, were nearing a total of 200 spirit stones. This substantial sum was absolutely enough to support Han Yi's cultivation for half a year. Even within this half year, if he used the spirit stones for cultivation, he would at most consume 2/3 of them. This was Han Yi's estimation. In other words, by the time the 1-year period ended, he would still have enough spirit stones to support the completion of his return to sect examination. This was also one of the reasons he decided to stay in the courtyard for the next half year, without leaving whatsoever. Having organized everything, Han Yi then devoted himself to cultivation without distraction. Magic skill: Spirit Void Finger. He cleared out the 2 bedrooms in advance, then aimed downward with the attack. From previous practice, on his proficiency panel, as long as he concentrated on cultivation, it would push progress, so the attacking direction, whether downward or forward, would be the same. Plop. He lightly flicked his finger, this time, not using 1/50th of his body's magic power, but tried to reduce it to 1%. The reduction in output of magic power felt awkward for Han Yi at the beginning. But he still persisted, and at the start, after every spirit void finger was flicked, He paused for a few beats, engrossing himself in the hidden mysteries contained within. Then, the duration of these pauses gradually shortened. The speed at which the magic power in his body was drawn to his fingertips gradually increased, and the way he condensed his magic power was fine-tuned according to his ever-improving understanding. Each time might only entail an imperceptible adjustment. Even after 10 times, there seemed to be no noticeable difference from before. But after 20 times, after 50 times, after 70 times, the change was conspicuous. After stabilizing his understanding, he attempted to reduce the magic power condensed each time. This was both cultivation of spirit void finger and control over every bit of magic power in his body, which indirectly improved his alchemy skill as well. So he continued, without cease. Inside the closed bedroom, Han Yi moved his hands, and from between his fingers, spirit light interlaced and brightened. The ground kept breaking apart. Deep pits, shallow holes, shattered stones, fine sand, the original floor tiles were broken so that not even a trace could be found. However, thanks to the array of the courtyard and the closed doors of the bedroom, the sound from inside could hardly be heard outside, which did not attract attention. After depleting the magic power in his body, he practiced with the spirit stones in the quiet room next door to recover his magic power. Cultivation was timeless. A month later, Spirit Void Finger entered the Hall 4100s. Over this month, Han Yi had practiced to the point where his hands were nearly numb. His understanding seemed to have hit a bottleneck. Han Yi decided to put a halt to the cultivation of the Spirit Void Finger and start refining pills. First the Exorcise Evil Spirits pill, then the Nurturing Chi pill. As for other pills, he had no pill formula. Even if he had the materials, there was no way to refine pills from nothing. With the breakthrough of his alchemy skill and the increasing control over every inch of magic power in his body, the quality of his pill refining greatly improved, and the time consumed decreased significantly. Within a mere half-month, he had already refined 20 batches of Nurturing Chi pills, along with 6 batches of Exorcise Evil Spirits pills. The success rate of the Nurturing Chi pills had reached 80%. Moreover, the success rate of refining Exorcise Evil Spirits pills had reached 30%. Furthermore, within these, 3 batches of standard quality pills were successful, and the other pills were of good quality, close to the standard one. This was something that, within the Xuanden sect, only the inner disciples at the 7th level of Qi cultivation could achieve. Subsequently, he began cultivation of the Spirit Void Finger again. While cultivating the Spirit Void Finger, he used spirit stones to recover his magic power, thus promoting progress toward the 3rd level of Qi cultivation. Day rose and night fell, time truly flowed through his fingertips. At some point in time, while Han Yi, who was immersed in absorbing the spirit stone and recovering his magic power, suddenly heard a series of knocking sounds. Thump, thump, thump. This knocking sound came from outside the courtyard. If it were any other sounds from outside the courtyard colliding, Han Yi inside the quiet room wouldn't hear them due to the protection of the formation. But the sound he heard now was so clear, which left only one possibility: someone outside the courtyard was shaking the formation. Only then would the sound be transmitted in here. Malicious attacks should be impossible. This was broad daylight, and the land deed of this courtyard belonged to Shu Huo Pill Shop, in other words, the Xuanden sect. The Xuanden sect spanned across 3 counties. Except for Dakion's official forces, no other forces in Mengshan City dared to openly challenge the Xuanden sect. So, it's not an attack, it should be someone trying to call him out by shaking the formation. Han Yi suddenly realized, it had been 3 months since the last time. During the last time at Shu Huo Pill Shop, he had agreed to Guan Sheng that he would stay in the pill shop for half a month in place of Guan Sheng. He was attacked by Zhang De on his way back in a small alley, which made Han Yi become extremely cautious, and decided to reject all going-out circumstances, to huddle in the courtyard and quietly wait for the end of the year. Seeing the persistent banging noise not stopping even after a quarter of an hour, Han Yi had no choice but to step out of the quiet room, came to the gate holding the array plate of the courtyard's formation, and put a little magic power into it. With this formation plate, he essentially became the master of this formation and could put the formation into a half-open state besides the functions of opening and closing. The so-called half-open state means it can transmit sound, but it cannot be used for passage. May I ask which fellow Taoist is it? After putting the formation into a half-open state, the booming sound became the dominant sound again without the formation's blockage and suddenly stopped after Han Yi spoke. Junior brother Han, it's me, I am Guan Sheng. Outside the door, Guan Sheng, who had been waiting for half a day, saw the door was closed tightly, couldn't help using the magic skill to shake the formation at the gate. He held back his inner anger, his face even wore his usual smile. The 3-month deadline was up, his plan was about to start, all that was missing was trapping Han Yi in it. In fact, he was supposed to wait for Han Yi to deliver himself to Shu Huo pill shop, but after waiting for half a day without seeing Han Yi, he came to summon him personally. Worried that showing too much eagerness might arouse Han Yi's suspicions, he even waited for a few hours outside the door inconsolati. Seeing the day getting darker, if Han Yi didn't show up, how could the follow-up plans be carried out? He could only shake the formation obligatorily to force Han Yi out. "Junior brother Han, please open the door. The 3-month deadline is here, and I am about to go out. I need to urgently hand over the pill shop's matters to you, so I can cope with the coming inspection." Between the two sides of the door, Han Yi felt torn upon hearing this. He did not want to be untrustworthy. Moreover, Guan Sheng also said that this matter was very important to him. If he broke his promise abruptly, it would disrupt all of Guan Sheng's plans. It would be like harming him directly. He couldn't bear it. About to speak, Han Yi hesitated and retreated, his face changing unpredictably. "Junior brother Han, Junior brother Han, what's the matter? You open the door first. If you have any difficulties, please raise it as soon as possible. I am leaving the city tomorrow, and there's not much time left for the handover." Outside the door, Guan Sheng's tone was sincere and gentle. But inside the door, Han Yi became composed. The murderous intent from Zhongde, the crisis in that small alley, even though it has been 3 months, it was still fresh in his mind, jumping out at this moment, warning him. After contemplating for a bit, Han Yi sighed and broke his silence. Compared to his life, what was breaking a promise? "I'm sorry, senior brother Guan. I have had some insights in alchemy skill, and I'm afraid I won't be able to leave the courtyard for the next few days. Please find someone else, and I will make it up to you later." As soon as his words finished, he quickly put a hint of magic power into the formation plate, once again activated the formation in his courtyard, then rapidly retreated back into the quiet room. Outside the courtyard, Guan Sheng, who had been all smiles, looked stiff. Chapter 18. Strong Killing Intent. In the next instant, Guan Sheng's smile quickly faded, turning gloomy and then sinister. The smile was a disguise, and the sinister expression revealed his true state of mind. At this moment, this sinister feeling reached its peak. He was fooled. A thought flashed through his mind, and a surge of anger emerged on his gloomy face. This anger surged rapidly, but it also disappeared in less than a moment. The smile returned. It was as if the rapid transformation of his expression had been merely an illusion. He let out a heavy sigh. "Junior brother Han Yi, you are really playing tricks on me. Isn't this just setting me up for failure? Junior brother Han, open the door first and let's talk. The alchemy can come later, or your senior brother can compensate you with spirit stones. Just name your conditions. Where can I find a suitable helper in such a hurry? Really, sigh." Guan Sheng continued to plead outside the door, his tone and expression were both very infectious. Unfortunately, he didn't know that Han Yi inside the room had already closed the array again and entered the quiet room, blocking out all noises. A little over a quarter of an hour later, Guan Sheng outside the door knew his mouth was getting dry from speaking and realized there was still no sound from inside the room. He had no choice but to give up, let out a dissatisfied snort, and leave with a flick of his sleeve. But, only after he had walked about 10 meters away, and with his back to the courtyard, his face appeared extremely gloomy again. Something is wrong. There is definitely something wrong. Guan Sheng suddenly felt a sense of crisis in his heart. 3 months ago, he had clearly made an agreement with Han Yi, and Han Yi had agreed to help. Why, after 3 months, did Han Yi act so differently? He didn't even dare to open the door, clearly rejecting him from 1,000 miles away. According to his previous observations, Han Yi was not of this temperament. Furthermore, he had taken great care of Han Yi, even giving him the pill formula for exorcise evil spirits pill, providing raw materials free of charge, and sharing 20% of the profits from the refined pills. This kind of care could already be considered a heavy favor. A normal person would not refuse to help with a task that takes less than half a month. Furthermore, 3 months ago, Guan Sheng's footsteps paused as he thought back to the day Han Yi had left 3 months ago when Zhongde had also disappeared after stepping out. That's right, he disappeared. In the cultivation world, when someone disappears, Guan Sheng knew very well what it meant. He searched secretly for a long time and eventually suspected an incident involving cultivator fights in an alley several blocks away from the pill shop where Jongda might be involved. But it was only a possibility. Through his connections, he found the Dakion official's chi-cultivating cultivator and reviewed the fight at that time. He only knew that the battle at the scene was very brief, lasting only a few breaths before the fighting ceased, leaving behind an unidentifiable body. Guan Sheng was not sure if that body was Jongda's. If it was, who was the enemy? He didn't suspect Han Yi back then because Han Yi had just broken through to the third layer of chi cultivation, while Jongda was at the fourth layer. Moreover, he was very familiar with the alchemy skills of these external sect disciples. Han Yi's alchemy skills were mediocre, and his combat skills were even more disastrous. He probably only knew one basic magic skill that wasn't even up to par. Jongda, on the other hand, though also an alchemist, had cultivated several powerful attacking magic skills. Compared to Han Yi, who had just broken through to the third layer of chi cultivation without revealing any slightly outstanding magic skills, Jongda was simply a dimensional attack. If the fight in the alley had indeed involved the two of them, it would have been effortless for Jongda. However, according to the records, the suspected Jongda's character was completely crushed during the battle. Such an ability to crush Jongda would have required at least a peak 4th layer chi cultivation, or even the 5th layer chi cultivation. Based on this range, Han Yi could already be ruled out. However, looking at Han Yi's attitude today, Guan Sheng felt extremely strange. Was Han Yi the one who killed Jongda in the first place? No, this conjecture could be entirely ruled out. So, there were two other possibilities. The first possibility was that Jongda indeed made a move against Han Yi, but for some unknown reason, Jongda was killed by another cultivator. This cultivator might have thought that Jongda was attacking them, and fought back, causing Jongda to be crushed into debris without any restraint. And this made Han Yi become extremely suspicious of Jongda and gradually extended the suspicion to everyone else. So today, when facing Guan Sheng, he wouldn't even dare open the door. The second possibility was that in these 3 months, whether by accident or deliberate investigation, Han Yi had discovered the problems with the Xuanwo pill shop and became suspicious of Guan Sheng. At this moment, Guan Sheng's inner thoughts flashed through his mind, and he deduced the two most likely possibilities as he perceived. Han Yi's claim that he had an inspiration in his alchemy skill and was about to break through. Guan Sheng did not believe it even a bit, not even punctuation-wise. And regardless of which of the two possibilities above, it showed that Han Yi could not be let go under any circumstances. Han Yi must die. As Guan Sheng walked non-stop, his footsteps had already set the tone for Han Yi's life and death. As for killing Han Yi directly here, he wouldn't choose to do that, of course. Even with his cultivation base as a chi-cultivating cultivator at the 6th level, it would take some time to forcibly attack the array of this courtyard, and it would definitely create a huge commotion. There were too many ways for him to kill Han Yi. On the other side, in the quiet room, after recovering his magic power, Han Yi resumed his cultivation of Spirit Void Finger. With only a little over 2 months left before the 1-year deadline, he was urgently in need of pushing the Spirit Void Finger to a new realm. But the more urgent, the more he knew that he couldn't be impatient. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. At this moment, the 2 bedrooms had already been connected, with walls full of holes and even a pit 3 meters deep on the ground. Thump, thump, thump. His 10 fingers continuously flicked, with spirit light surging, as if they were playing an exquisite divine melody on the guzheng. Time flew by. However, Han Yi, who had immersed himself in cultivation again without any distractions, didn't know that there was a certain pair of eyes watching the courtyard from a hidden, remote place every day outside the yard. The owner of these eyes was not Guan Sheng, but the person Guan Sheng had instructed to keep an eye on Han Yi. At a certain moment, the person watching the courtyard suddenly jolted because a huge vibration suddenly erupted from the courtyard, shaking the entire array. The vibration was brief but real, and Guan Sheng had ordered that any changes in the courtyard were to be reported. He quietly squatted until the night approached before leaving the surveillance spot and heading to the Xuanwo pill shop. An abnormal vibration. Guan Sheng raised an eyebrow after hearing the report. Yes, old Guan, the vibration was very loud, as if the entire courtyard array shook, but I didn't see anyone attacking the courtyard. Moreover, this vibration is the first abnormality within the array this month, and it's clearly problematic. Did anyone inside come out? Guan Sheng asked again. No, I was very vigilant and kept watching. There's no way I could be wrong. Up until the moment I left, the array was still maintained, and it's impossible for Anyone inside to leave? Alright, since the person is still inside, don't worry about him. Tomorrow you continue to keep an eye on him. Remember, if there's any movement, report back to me immediately. Do not act rashly. Remember this. Guan Sheng waved his hand, and the person in front of him respectfully bowed and retreated. A huge abnormal vibration. Could it be that the pill furnace exploded? That's not right. Even if the pill furnace exploded, there'd be the house as a buffer, and with Han Yi's strength, he couldn't possibly shake the array. Interesting, I can't believe we can't see any secrets on this boy. In just over a month, the 1-year deadline will be up, so you can't avoid coming out, and then. Guan Sheng's eyes narrowed, revealing a hint of murderous intent. No matter what Han Yi knew or speculated, he had to die. Chapter 19. Returning to the sect ahead of time. Meanwhile, on the other side. During the day, the thunderous noise of the yard's array was caused by Han Yi unleashing the Spirit Void Finger. Because his Spirit Void Finger advanced to the next level. However, before he could rejoice, the downwardly fired Spirit Void Finger directly shook the array foundation, causing a significant tremor. The tremor was so strong, not only did he stir up dust filling the sky, leaving him in an embarrassing mess, but it also startled him. Moreover, the bedroom, which had been standing upright in front of him, collapsed in its latter half. It was only due to the array and the viewing angle that the people squatting at the door could not see this change. Han Yi couldn't care less about his embarrassing state. Instead, he laughed heartily. After laughing, he let out a deep breath, the energy like a surge, swirling up the remaining spirit energy in the bedroom, rolling endlessly, permeating the entire room. It took a long time for it to calm down. 4 months later, his Spirit Void Finger reached a new height, and the formidable power of the Spirit Void Finger at the new height allowed Han Yi to gain some confidence in self-protection. This power definitely reaches the chi-cultivating 6th layer or even the peak of the 6th layer. Han Yi looked at his proficiency panel at this moment, feeling a surge of warm emotion in his heart. Name: Han Yi. Lifespan: 2189ths. Realm: middle stage of chi-cultivating 78/100ths. Method: Fire Profound Skill Proficient 17/100ths. Skills: Alchemy Skill Enter the Hall 63/100ths. Spirit Void Finger Mastering 1/100th. Closing square bracket. After 4 months of hard work, the entire panel looks completely refreshed. Thanks to the uncostly usage of Spirit Stone, his realm advancement to the middle stage of chi cultivating also reached 78/100ths. And his basic Fire Profound skill has crossed from beginner level to the new level, becoming proficient. As for skills, Alchemy skill is still at the Enter the Hall stage. While Spirit Void Finger has already surpassed the Alchemy skill, entering a new realm, Mastering. Spirit Void Finger at the realm of Mastering, its formidable power has greatly impressed Han Yi. I still have a month to go. I need to prepare for 2 fronts. On one hand, use the Spirit Stone, no, not just the Spirit Stone, but also the Nurturing Chi Pill directly for cultivation, striving to reach the 4th layer of Chi cultivating. Secondly, along with that set of 3 low-grade dagger-shaped magical weapons, learn Sword Control skill as a second move apart from the Spirit Void Finger. Han Yi's plan was clear, and instead of expanding his confidence after a breakthrough, he remained extremely steady. Moreover, he decided to start using the Nurturing Chi Pills as an aid for cultivation. The effect of Nurturing Chi Pill is more efficient and milder compared to the Spirit Stone when converted into the body's magic power. The enhancement of a single Nurturing Chi Pill is a lot less than a single Spirit Stone, but its effect is more efficient for breaking into the middle stage of Chi cultivating. Thus in the market, a single Nurturing Chi Pill is priced around 1.5 Spirit Stones because of the pill's characteristics. There's another important decision that needs to be made on top of these 2 preparations. That is, regardless of whether I can make a breakthrough or how far I can progress in learning Sword Control skill, I need to leave Mengshan City ahead of time. Based on his own understanding of the situation, he doesn't know who else in Mengshan City bears malicious intent towards him. But he had a feeling that he couldn't stay here. And to leave, of course, it's best to leave suddenly when people least expect it. Even if there are people who intend to harm him, they would also be caught off guard because of his sudden departure. With this in mind, Han Yi decided to set off for the sect half a month early. That is, he still has a month's time. Next, Han Yi continued to cultivate diligently. Spirit Stone, Nurturing Chi Pill, all were fully utilized. Yet just 3 days later, he stopped, his brow furrowed. No, this won't work, my previous thoughts were too naive. The progress is too slow. According to the current pace of practice, not only won't I be able to break into the 4th layer of chi cultivating, but I also won't make much progress in sword control skill. We cannot rush, we must not rush. Wanting this and that, clearly, is overly idealistic. Moreover, even if I could break through to the 4th layer of chi cultivating, I wouldn't be able to stabilize my cultivation base, but would instead affect my control over magic power due to a recent breakthrough, thus could lead to the instability of the strongest spirit void finger and might even hurt myself. After thinking for a while, Han Yi decisively gave up on the breakthrough in cultivation base, instead switching to cultivating sword control skill. In that alley, he killed Zhongde, who was higher than his own cultivation base, with his chi cultivating 3rd layer cultivation base by relying on magic skill. Cultivation base is obviously important, but magic skill is the key to overcoming stronger opponents. First, he took out the incomplete sword control skill he bought from the Lei family marketplace, then he took the scripture transmission jade plate and placed it on his forehead. Suddenly, several magic skills surged into his mind, along with it came a guiding voice. This is the scripture transmission jade plate. Of course, this kind of jade plate belongs to the lowest level of single-use jade plates. Once used, it will turn into a waste stone. Better quality scripture transmission jade plates can even exist permanently, without limitation on usage. That's one of the foundations of major sects. A moment later, after putting down the depleted jade plate, he took out a dagger-shaped magical weapon and put it on his knee, leaning an arm on the dagger. The magic power inside his body, as depicted in the magic skills, began to flow into the dagger. In the beginning, he felt a sense of rejection and heaviness. This was the magical weapons repelling of him. Han Yi was not impatient, but continued to transfer the magical power into the dagger. 3 days later, the dagger on his knee began to move. 7 days later, the dagger took off, swinging around wobbily. 18 days later, the dagger hovered inside the quiet room, leaving trails of spirit marks. On a clear morning a month later, a crisp sound came from the rarely opened courtyard door. A figure stepped over the threshold, operated the array disc at the door to close the array again, then collected the array disc and walked in a certain direction, leading directly to the city gate. This person was Han Yi, of course. He had considered leaving at night, but Mengshan City has regulations that not even cultivators are allowed to enter or leave the city at night. Once caught attempting to break in, they could be killed on the spot. Today is the day he planned to return to the sect early. As for when he returns to the sect, he has already decided on where to go. In Xuanden sect's outer and inner peaks, there are cultivation rooms for rent. The cultivation rooms are built on the spirit vein nodes of the mountain peaks, where spirit energy is much more abundant than other places. The cultivation rooms are clearly beneficial, but the downsides are just as clear, as they are expensive, and excessively so. For instance, the cultivation room on Little Lingshu Peak costs 1 spirit stone per day to rent, which is astronomical to most low-level chi cultivating disciples. So, the cultivation rooms on the outer peak usually only attract chi cultivating 5th or 6th layer disciples who are willing to invest heavily in trying to break through to the next realm. It will take about 5 days to get to the sect, so he would need to rent a cultivation room for about 10 days, totaling 10 spirit stones. This expense, in terms of importance, is far less significant than his own safety. He knows what's at stake, so he's naturally willing to fork out the money. Chapter 20. Misunderstandings and Coincidences. Han Yi walked at a normal pace towards the city gate. Just as he opened the door, in a dark, secluded corner outside the gate, a figure suddenly shuddered. He's finally out. This guy has finally come out. This person was so excited that he almost cried. He had been squatting for 2 months, and the master of this courtyard had only ventured out today. Such bitter cultivation was simply outrageous. Remembering Guansheng's instructions, he thought about immediately returning to inform Guansheng about this matter at the Xuanwo pill shop. Still, second thoughts led him to suppress the idea and quietly follow Han Yi instead. HMPH, I'll see what shady business this guy is up to. After a quarter of an hour, the man watched Han Yi walk through the city gate and stopped hesitating. He pondered whether to continue following or go back. After some thought, he decided to return. As a chi-refining 3rd stage cultivator, he might not be able to stop Han Yi even if he followed him. He regretted not directly going to Xuanwo pill shop earlier to report this matter. Fortunately, nobody knew about it, and as long as he didn't say anything, Guansheng wouldn't know either. That's how it should be done. Upon reaching this conclusion, he quickly returned to the Xuanwo pill shop to inform Guansheng about Han Yi leaving the courtyard. Guansheng listened and narrowed his eyes, revealing a sinister smile. So he actually went out. I thought I'd have to wait until the 1-year deadline before he'd leave. HMPH. Let's see what little tricks he can play. The plan has changed, and we missed the perfect opportunity 2 months ago, but at least it can still continue. Suddenly, a puzzled expression appeared on his face. But where could he be going? He's not heading towards the Xuanwo pill shop, but in the opposite direction. There are no other markets in that direction, just the city gate. That's not right. Guansheng suddenly stood up, the wide-eyed expression of horror on his face. He's trying to escape. The person standing in front of him shivered, fearing that his decision to follow Han Yi would be exposed. He pretended to be puzzled, running away. Guansheng left the counter and walked out. Don't worry about it, just watch the pill shop for me. I'll be back soon. If anyone asks, just say I went to pick up the goods. His voice gradually softened, and by the time he finished speaking, Guansheng was already 20 meters away from the pill shop, disappearing around the street corner. The man guarding the counter breathed a quiet sigh of relief. Fortunately, I wasn't discovered for acting on my own accord. But, it's amazing how accurate Guan Lao's guess is. He is truly a seasoned schemer. Hee, that guy trying to escape the city won't get far. He's definitely heading for a dead end. On the other side, after Han Yi left Mengshan City, he looked back at the bustling city gate and let out a bitter smile. It seemed that he was just overthinking things. Perhaps there was no danger after all, and that it was all just in his head. But safety was more important than anything else. Han Yi recalled that he had messed up Guansheng's big plan, believing that Guansheng must still hold a grudge in his heart. However, he didn't regret it and thought that once he became more powerful in the future, he would compensate Guansheng tenfold for this misunderstanding. Han Yi no longer lingered and continued on his way. Moreover, the path he took was not the nearly straight route to the sect that he had taken when he came down from the mountain. Instead, he purposely made a detour, going far away from Xuanden sect's direction and then circling back towards Xuanden mountain range. This was part of the plan that he had devised before leaving. As a cultivator, his chi-refining third-stage body made his physical strength and endurance far superior to ordinary people. Walking at a brisk pace, he was even faster than some horses, without feeling tired at all. It was at least twice as fast as his previous trip down the mountain. Although the journey was longer, the time was roughly the same as the last time he descended the mountain. This was also part of the plan. Mengshan City was a city within Nanyang County. And Nanyang County was one of the 13 counties in Shu State of Dakian Immortal Country. Xuanden sect was located in Xuanden Mountain Range, which stretched across Tabai, Nanyang, and Luofeng, the 3 counties, and was also the core area of the Xuanden sect's influence. The nearest city to Mengshan City towards Xuanden Mountain Range was Linan City, while the nearest city away from Xuanden Mountain Range was White Snake City. But when Han Yi arrived at Linan City, it was already late, so he found an inn specially designed for cultivators, with separate rooms and protective formations, and spent 3 spirit sand to stay the night. On the second day, they continued their journey, turning right and taking a detour towards Xuanden Mountain Range. What he didn't know was, far behind him, Guansheng, who had left Mengshan City after him, had arrived in Linan City earlier than him before Han Yi reached White Snake City. He squatted outside the gate of Linan City for 5 days and 5 nights. The thoughts in his heart went from, I didn't meet him on the road, this guy must have entered Linan City. I'll wait, to the second day, why hasn't he come out yet? This guy wouldn't be staying in Linan City, would he? Then on the 3rd day, damn it, what's this guy doing in Linan City? By the 4th day, should I go inside and look for him? No, Linan City is too big, it's unrealistic to find him. Just keep waiting, I can't believe you belong to a turtle. On the 5th day, you're killing me, making me so angry. Guansheng left, carrying with him a deep resentment and helplessness towards Han Yi. On his way back, he reviewed all his previous actions and even all his facial expressions and movements in front of Han Yi. It all seemed flawless, but in the end, he still couldn't trap this kid, which was a pity. Right now, he had to rush back to erase some key pieces of information from the arrangements he had made earlier, just in case anything went wrong. He was scared. Of course, he had thought about going directly to the small town below Xuanden Mountain Range and waiting for Han Yi there, just to kill him. But as soon as this idea came up, it was extinguished. That place was heavily guarded, and even Foundation Establishment stage cultivators of the Immortal Path were stationed there all year round. If he got caught, it would be over. His own backer in the sect was just a manager of the outer sect, and his backer was just a peak master of the outer sect, with a cultivation base also at the foundation establishment stage, so it wasn't realistic that the two layers of relationships were united to protect him at any cost. He hated Han Yi so much that he wanted to kill him, but it wasn't necessary to die together. 5 days later, when Guan Sheng returned to Mengshan City, it was also when Han Yi set foot on Xuandan Mountain Range again. As he entered the territory of Little Lingshu Peak, he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Finally, he had returned without any surprises or danger. Then he went straight to the management hall of the outer peak of Little Lingshu Peak. Every outer peak had such a management hall, handling affairs of the peak. Han Yi presented the outer sect disciple's identity token he had kept, and then under the surprised gaze of the manager in the Great Hall, he paid 10 spirit stones and received a certificate, heading straight to the cultivation chamber behind the Great Hall. After entering the corresponding cultivation chamber, he activated the formation in the chamber using the array that had been placed in the chamber earlier. Han Yi took a deep breath. Second stage spirit vein, main node location, rich spirit energy poured into his nostrils, flowed smoothly around his body, and the fatigue from the journey disappeared instantly. The cultivation chamber is indeed extraordinary. This concentration of spirit energy is so effective. It's expensive, but it's worth it.